What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I'm your host, Zach, with my two co-hosts, Josh and Mike. We got a really entertaining Sunday episode for you. We're going to go over Thursday Night Football, the noon slate, the 3 o'clock slate, and if we got time, we'll go into the Sunday night game. But as always, we're recording during the Sunday night game, so please mind our reactions. Josh, you want to get us started with some Patriots Steelers?
Yes, I can. Thursday Night Football, as always, starting this episode. Pats at Steelers. The Pats came out of nowhere to start this game and just kind of just laid it on the Steelers. A good Steelers defense, a Pats offense that has been virtually non-existent. Bailey Zappi starts this game. They don't even bother with Mac Jones, and they go off to a pretty good start. Sadly for them, they did not score in the second half, but they didn't really need to. Mitch Trubisky struggled early, throwing picks, just not making good reads. Kind of classic Mitch Trubisky stuff. Kind of put his team in a hole early, was hard to dig out of. But then, like I said, the Pats offense came back to earth in the second half, and then the Steelers got to make their little push towards the end, give themselves a chance to win this game. They could not come through late though. And interesting stat I saw they were talking about during this game: the Pats defense is the Pats team is 1-3 when giving up single digit points this season. Every other team was like 50 something and 0. I just thought that's pretty remarkable to be 1-3 in games where you give up less than 10 points. They didn't give up less than 10 points this game, but regardless, they got a win and just screwed their own draft pick.
Yeah, for me, the Steelers, they kind of got away from their game plan that really works. A couple weeks ago, when they really exploded after Canada was fired, they put up over 400 yards of offense. Around half of that was from Jalen Warden and Najee just on the ground, just being really productive. This week, they went down early, like you said, Josh, and they had really no chance to establish a ground game. So they forced Mitch Trubisky to, as I believe Adrian Amos said, they forced Mitch Trubisky to play quarterback, and it ended up biting the Steelers in the ass. Patriots, like you said, they came out on fire. Zappy was really just hitting throws all over the place. I don't believe there was Ramondre Stevenson. It was mainly it was only Ezekiel Elliott getting carries, aside from Bailey Zappi getting three. Juju hit a couple really nice catches in the first half, one of which was a really long bomb that just set up a touchdown. So that was really cool. But like I said, the Steelers, they're going to start to fall out of the playoff race. I believe there's 11 teams at 7-6 or better as of now in the AFC. And if their offense is going to be this inconsistent, they're not making the postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sled for them. I bet the under in this game that could not have died quicker. Somehow the Patriots were able to get 3 touchdowns very quickly. The interception off Trubisky helped a lot. Steelers offense kind of played as expected, not great. It was just that turnover really killed them. Zappy 3 touchdown passes, just surprising. Zeke turned back the clock, 72 receiving yards, 68 rushing yards, a receiving touchdown. He played very good. And for the Steelers, this is their second loss to a 2-win team in 5 days. Cardinals last week, this week the Patriots. Not what you want to see. 3 of their last 4 games are away against playoff contenders, so they still decide their own fate, but it's not looking great considering how poor this offense has looked. TJ Watt and Highsmith both picked up injuries. That's both of their key edge guys. Hopefully they can have them back next Saturday. And just a game you don't want to have if you're the Steelers. For the Patriots, you get a nice win finally. You get that monkey off your back, but kind of looking to stay in that Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. Hopefully they can get a couple wins and get out of that sweepstakes. So Steelers in a must-win position next week.
All right, moving on here to Lions and Bears. I said it start this week off. I was nervous about this game. Ended up coming to fruition. I wish this game ended up being a little closer so that egregious no intentional grounding call that led to a Chicago Bears touchdown wasn't the factor in this one because the Lions ended up just fumbling on the next drive and basically screwing themselves for the game. But I'm just going to get that out of the way before I go into the rest of this game. That was absurd. I've never seen anything like that in my life. But regardless, Lions defense actually played pretty well, despite being really getting cooked for the past few weeks overall. Outside of that first drive, they played pretty well. They forced some 3-and-outs. They got home and finished sacks, something that they've been struggling to do, something that they've struggled to do with Justin Fields basically his entire career. So I was happy to see that their defense played well. It was just the offense. The Lions' offense was just really bad today. You could see from the start not having Frank Ragnow was a problem. The fumble that I spoke of after the no intentional grounding touchdown call was Graham Glasgow's fault at center. that would not have happened with Frank Ragnow. So you really hate to see that. He's one of the most important pieces of this team, the best center in the league, and you just hate to see him out. Hopefully, the Lions can get him back next week. That would be huge. The Lions offense just didn't have, they had no first downs for the entire third quarter and a lot of the fourth quarter. And that was just killer. Even when the defense was getting stops, they were put in bad positions. The Lions kept punting and giving the Bears the ball, the 50-yard line, still getting stops, and the offense just had nothing to show for it. I love Ben Johnson. The play calling in the second half was just repetitive. It was a lot of run, run, pass, punt. A lot of the play calling that most of the NFL fans who are fans of bad teams who don't have good offenses. Bears are an example with Getsy. They complain about the run, run, pass, punt. The Lions were doing that in the second half, and it hurt them desperately. And overall, Ali McNeil on defense, like I said, the defense played well. Ali McNeil still not having him is always crucial. And I'm hoping that sometime soon, it looks like we're going to get CJ Gardner Johnson back at some point. That will be huge. Obviously, we'll not get Emmanuel Mosley back. We'll get Ali McNeil back probably for week 18 against the Vikings. That will be huge. But the main point here is the offense. Jared Goff seems to have the yips right now and is just not playing well whatsoever. The problem for the Lions here is you have your quarterback who's played like, and I know I'm seeing a lot of shit on Twitter about people being like, oh, I thought Goff was top five. He was playing top five for like 15 games. And then he has 5, 6, 7 bad games. And now it's like, what do you do? Do we next year, do we just sign Goff to this extension? Because he played so well for so long, or do you ride with Hendon Hooker? Do you trade for somebody? Do you draft another guy? What do you do? Because it's hard to ignore how much success he's had and brought the Lions to the highest point they've been in over a decade and the best starting record they've had in 60 years. But at the same time, it's hard to ignore the what just happened and what we've been seeing. But at the end of the day, the Lions are sitting at 9-4. Most of these teams that's fan bases are laughing it up right now at the Lions, talking shit. Most of them are under 500. A lot of them are 5-8, 6-6, 6-7. So at the end of the day, I'd rather be in the Lions position than any of their positions. 4 games left. Win 2 of those games, and they're going to win the division. They'll be okay. They got the Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. Cowboys look amazing. I mean, as we're recording this right now, they're up 17-3 on the Eagles. That might age poorly, but we'll see. So maybe you chalk that up as an L. Beat the Broncos, split with the Vikings, and they're going to be okay. So at the end of the day, Lions fans, everybody, let's just calm down. There's some obvious concerns, but sitting at 9-4, we cannot concern ourselves with the opinions of the 5-8 teams.
Before I get to the nitty gritty, I will kind of just give my thoughts on the Lions. Like you said, Josh, Jared Goff, he's kind of in a rough spot right now because, like you said, he's not playing the best. Like you said, end of last year, first half of this year, he was phenomenal. Getting the ball out on time, receivers were open. Ben Johnson was scheming up some really good plays, all that. But right now, he's just not looking too good. So the questions going forward, they're definitely valid, but I still think he's a guy you can win with. Now, the defense, they've got to try and figure that out. Sure, they played a little bit better today than they have in, I don't know, the last month, but you're not going to be able to host Dallas in a playoff game and win with this defense because their defense is super good and you're not going to hold them to under 30 with whatever you're rocking with right now. And lastly, Jameson Williams, he's such a talented receiver. I hate that it seems like he's being used as pretty much a gadget guy. I would really like to see him get used like underneath on drags or even just more than just clear out routes, like take some shots to him. It makes way more sense for you to do that. And I want them to use him like a number 12 overall pick rather than a Grandpa Valus Jones. Now on to probably my favorite part of this episode. We're going to talk about the Bears. Coming into this week, coming out of a bye, the Bears had not won a game coming out of a bye in the last decade. This is the first time they won coming out of the bye week in the last 10 years. It's disgusting to say the least, but glad we got that monkey off our back. And to start off, Justin Fields, he wasn't perfect today, but he showed a lot more good than he was bad. Sure, he had his regular errors where he was missing open throws or just taking unnecessary sacks, which I really think he only took 1. But outside of that, he was really good. He was accurate. He was on time. He even, on that touchdown to DJ Moore, it was a phenomenal play. He adjusted pre-snap. He drew the defense off sides and then threw a beautiful ball to DJ Moore. That's just that 1-2 connection right there. You'd love to see it. Now, the defense. Eberflus may not be a great head coach, but he's a hell of a defensive coordinator and defensive play caller. The second half possessions for the Lions went punt, 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 fumble, turnover on downs, and an interception. Granted, that interception was basically as the game was over for Tremaine Edmonds, but it was a stop nonetheless. And I'm very impressed with the turnaround that they've made, mainly because of the acquisition of Montez Sweat. I've talked about it before. I talked about it on like my mini episode of the Bears a couple weeks ago. A really good pass rush can make up for a bad secondary more than a good secondary can make up for a bad pass rush. Montez Sweat has been a multiplier on this front four, and they're able to actually get pressure now rather than having to send the house and not be able to get there and then give up a bunch of third and longs. They're starting to get off the field, which is letting the offense wear down the other team's defense a lot more, which is keeping them in games, and it's really impressive. DJ Moore, he's a top 5 wide receiver in this league, no debate. He has been phenomenal this year. He had that beautiful rushing touchdown. In the first half, he had, I think, 2 touches, and they were both rushes. And then Luke Getsy got his head out of his ass and decided to throw him the ball a few times and got a touchdown out of it and over 60 yards. It was phenomenal. He was great today. And speaking of another Lions receiver who's supposed to be, I don't know, top 5 or something like that, he only had 3 catches today for only 21 yards. And I believe he had a drop on a 3rd and 12 in the fourth quarter. But that's neither here nor there.
I would love to hear this top 5 you speak of. You're talking about DJ Moore being top 5. I mean, who you gonna keep out if you're keeping him top 5?
I tweeted about it.
There's 2 receivers in the game we're watching right now that are better than him. He wasn't the best receiver in the game.
Yeah, they're both
maybe
in it.
He played the best, but he's not better than St. Brown. I'm sorry, he's not. What are we doing here?
He is better than St. Brown. He is better than St. Brown.
Oh my god.
He 100% is. I'd love to go into it with you.
Man.
If DJ Moore was getting the
volume
Bears fans
that Amon-Ra There's one bright spot on a shitty team, and then you take that and you're like, oh, he's the best, he's top 5 receiver just because he's the one good player on your team. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. That top 5 is crazy. Top 5 is crazy. What's the top 5?
This year, he's definitely been a top 5 receiver.
Well, let me hear the top 5.
Not in order. DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb. Not in order. DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, probably Keenan Allen, and I'm missing one more. Not Jefferson because he hasn't played enough games. Not Devontae Adams because of his inconsistencies at quarterback.
I mean, how do you miss this name? That's his D name.
I know. I'm waiting to hear it too.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Right. It's Tyreek. It was escaping my mind because he hasn't played today.
I'm taking Jamar Chase,
and we'll see him make another case for MVP, which I will get into later.
St. Brown. I'm taking Stephon Diggs. I'm taking Devontae Adams. I'm taking Justin Jefferson.
This year, no, I wouldn't take Diggs.
I'm taking Deebo Samuel.
This year.
What are we doing here?
That's crazy.
You're
Deebo is not a top 20 wide receiver. Deebo is not a top 20 wide receiver.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Next episode, I would love next episode, I would love to come up with 20 receivers better than Deebo Samuel. I promise you I can.
Do right now. 20 receivers? Outside of Tyreek
right now,
Hill,
I can't
the best playmaker in the league.
I can't do that right now.
God,
I could do that for next episode. Though.
That's a stinky take, man. Oh my god.
Anyways,
I mean, by the way, I'm taking
back to Bears
over DJ Moore this season.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Anyways,
Puka Nacua has more yards by. I mean,
I think that was just a fraudulent take.
I don't think I whatever top 5 this season, but that's
Deebo Samuel not being top 20. I don't think man. Come on, bro, that's disgusting.
I mean, if Justin Fields is as bad as you guys think he is, or at least Josh says he is, then him having over
he didn't play well today. You can't tell me he played well today. Fields, he missed a ton of throws.
He was way better. He was more good than bad today. I didn't say he was perfect.
I think both quarterbacks were pretty bad today, I would say. Honestly.
Justin Fields definitely was not bad today.
I don't.
Anyways, back to my list of things I wanted to cover. Pay Jalen Johnson, just got his 4th interception of the year. He's been phenomenal. Pay him what he wants. He should be a cornerstone of this defense for a very long time. And we didn't choke this time. I'm so excited about that because we choked last time. So I wanted to look at the rest of the season. We're 5-8 right now. Looking forward, we have Cleveland, Atlanta in Atlanta. We have Cleveland in Cleveland, Atlanta in Atlanta, then Arizona in Chicago, and then Green Bay in Green Bay. there's a chance if the Bears can somehow beat the better Browns team and they could win 4 in a row and then go into Green Bay, and that game could be for a wild card spot. They would need help, but they play Atlanta, who is in front of them right now in the standings. And I don't know. It's definitely a long shot, no doubt. But if this team gets hot, I mean, you never know. They're not winning Super Bowl, but they could make the playoffs. And how poetic would it be if, with after the way the season started, with the Packers whooping on the Bears after an offseason of hype, the Bears go into Green Bay and take a wild card spot from Green Bay in a crazy end of the season.
I hope it goes down like it went down for the Lions last year, and you guys are in that spot, and then someone just rips it from you.
I'd be okay with that, strictly because the Bears did everything they could do. If it's outside help that we need and we don't get that, then I'd be fine with that. It'd be different if we got the help and then it was like a Sunday Night Football game and then we choke on the national stage. That'd be awful. But if we did our job, but the other team just, it didn't fall our way, then I can live with that.
For a second, I just keep thinking of another receiver I'm putting better than DJ Moore. I mean, DK Metcalf, I'm taking DK over him.
I would not take DK. I don't.
You're not taking Cooper Kupp over him?
I mean, he's top 15. This year? Hell no.
We're talking overall. Oh, we're talking
just this season?
Stats? We're talking who has the best. All right, so it's a competition of who's played the most. I'm
not even talking stats. I'm talking impact on an offense just in 2023. DJ Moore's top 5.
Impact on an offense? Are we talking every position impact on an offense?
Wide receiver. Top 5 wide receiver this season in terms of impact on an offense.
I don't know about that. Give me DJ that Moore scenario. Has made
crazy catches in situations that he probably shouldn't be.
Okay, so was Courtland Sutton.
So that's the mark of how you're impact on an offense if you make crazy catches?
No, that's not it. It's not just that. I'm just using that as an example. If you don't think he's been a phenomenal receiver and an incredible impact for this Bears offense, you haven't been watching.
No one said that. Yeah, no one said that.
He's up there with the best of the best in terms of impact on an offense at the wide receiver position this year.
That just sounds like a very specific, how can I form it where DJ Moore isn't outside of the top 10?
Well, obviously, like just talent-wise in the NFL, he's probably not top 10 because there's guys like Jefferson, Kupp, Devontae, fucking AJ Brown,
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, not him. Man. I don't see it. I really don't. He just gets hella targets and hella catches and then just...
Is that not impact on it all?
Not really. Like, he doesn't draw the defense. He's just sitting in the middle of the defense because he's sitting in the slot.
Targets and catches so you're saying
Kelsey too then? Kelsey's impact on the offense isn't great because he just finds the open zone.
Yeah. Kelsey just finds where he can get catches. That's not impact on an offense, so
that's not what I said. Ridiculous. But
that's ridiculous. Bro.
I don't think Amon-Ra is better than DJ Moore, talent-wise or impact on an offense. Just because
completely disagree.
Just because you gather a million targets doesn't mean you're impactful for a team.
Yeah, you just have to make highlight catches. You don't have to have production. It's just highlight catches. You were on here like 2 episodes ago saying how he gets 12 catches a game and 140 yards and a touchdown, and that's not production and impact on an offense.
It's obviously it's production and it's an impact, but I think DJ Moore's impact is just better.
I think,
especially given what the Bears were last year, the jump that they've made with DJ Moore in the offense is insane.
I think you're taking this as there's no one else on the offense, so he has to be the impact. I think that's how you're framing this.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Is that he's the only form of great production on the offense, so he has the biggest impact.
Amon-Ra or DJ?
DJ.
Okay.
That's how I think you're framing this, because Amon-Ra has other guys who like Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery and Laporta who are a huge impact on the offense. And who does DJ Moore have?
Nobody. Exactly.
So he has to be the impact. And
the Bears still move the ball despite the terrible play calling. He makes plays when they need to be made.
And when Amon-Ra didn't have anybody, when Swift was hurt, and when TJ Hawkinson wasn't having the great production, and he was still getting 12 catches.
Was he though?
Yes, he was.
More than 2 years ago, was he?
the end of his rookie year
What year
and
was that?
last
Was that
season,
2020 or 2021?
2021. Yeah, 2021, I think.
This is only his
2021.
third year in the league.
It's his third year in the league.
Gross. But
Yeah.
he's still super, super good. I just think DJ is better.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree. I mean, Mike, you got anything to say? I realized
That
that you haven't
that
had
that's
your,
completely
Yeah,
fair.
I never got my thoughts in this game. I'll make it quick. If the scenario of Packers Bears happens in the last week of the season, give me the Packers by 1,000.
Mhm.
Bears look like the better football team today, though. Lions defense just not good. If they go to the playoffs, which I expect them to, I don't see them winning a playoff game if this defense continues to play how it is. Goff has his struggles again. Doesn't really seem like an NFC North type quarterback. He's got to be better in the cold in those outdoor situations, and that's kind of just the staple of NFC football. But I guess there's two indoor stadiums in the NFC North, so it's not as important. Bears defense these last 2
About to
weeks
be
has been
three.
great. Yeah, about to be three Arlington.
Yeah, in like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, just big game from the Bears defense. Sweat seems to be worth the pick apparently at this point. We'll see how that continues to go for him.
Yeah, Golf's got to be better. The offense has to be better. If the Lions draw, regardless of what happens in these next two games, if the Lions draw a home game against Minnesota in the first round, I think they're going to win a playoff game. But I think they would probably. I mean, I'd be worried about Green Bay just because of how the last game went. I'm trying to think of who else would possibly be in that spot. The Rams. I'd be a little worried about the Rams, but
Yeah, they
regardless of
got some
what's going on.
firepower on their offense. They could keep up with you guys just points wise. I got two more things to add before we go forward.
Mhm.
Bedard got another apple, so that's good. And then how's that for some TikTok clips?
Yeah, right. All right. Let's move on here. Bucks at Falcons. NFC
It's
South.
all love. It's all love.
Yeah, of course, always, always. Not for the Bears though. But both these offenses in this game struggled early. It was pretty bleak to say the least to start this game. And then they both showed up in the fourth quarter and they played pretty good. The South now is, we'll talk about the Saints a little later, but knotted at 6 and 7 for the top three spots. It would be cool to see an under 500 team make it in. I mean, all these teams are essentially playing for who's going to get their ass beat by the whoever gets second in the NFC East, whether it's the Eagles or the Cowboys. Regardless, one of these teams is getting their ass kicked. Drake London played really, really well. He had a huge impact on this offense. The Falcons, on the other hand, did not run the ball well on offense and did not defend the run well on defense. We said earlier this week their key to success is establishing their run offense and shutting down the other team's run offense. They did neither of those today, which is just not a recipe for success for them. And Baker Mayfield has quietly had a pretty solid season for the Bucks. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bucks do in the offseason. It kind of seems like Kyle Trask is never going to be an option. If he wasn't going to get it this year, he's not going to get it at all. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe they trade up, try to get a QB. Maybe if the Bears decide they want to rock with Fields, maybe they try to make a move and try to get Caleb Williams, or maybe trade up into the top 10 and take another quarterback. Or maybe they rock it out with Baker Mayfield one more year. We'll see. But he's had a pretty good year. I wanted to give him his flowers there.
Yeah, Baker's definitely had a really good year overall. I feel like today he wasn't like overwhelmingly good. He did enough to get his team the win. And like you said, this game was kind of boring to start out, but once that fourth quarter hit, these teams turned it on. They scored a few touchdowns. It was really entertaining. Desmond Ritter almost 350 yards passing, but almost feels like empty stats in a loss. Bijan just didn't get the proper workload on the ground. If you keep giving Bijan 10 or fewer carries in a game, you just don't want to win. He's so talented, and with their offensive line being quite underrated, I think the three of us have said on this podcast numerous times. It's just something you got to go back to it over and over again. Drake London had a career day, 10 catches for 172 yards. He was phenomenal. And of course, the 1 week that I'm facing Kyle Pitts in fantasy, he finds the end zone as well. Bijan got another 5 catches to add to make up 15 total touches for him. But the Falcons, they gotta find a way to just get more balanced on offense. You can't be asking Desmond Ritter to be throwing it 40 times if you want to have success. I mean, if Ritter's hot, then yeah, keep going with it. But Bijan is easily probably your best player on offense. And I feel like you just have to go to him way more than just 15 times in a game.
Big win for the Buccaneers. Baker looked all right. 75-yard game-winning drive, got the job done. Found Kate Otten in the end zone for a big touchdown. Rashad White again seems to kind of be a very good solid back for this team. Could be the guy for a few years to come. Continues to make plays, looks great. And Antoine Winfield has just been so good for this Bucs defense. Second defensive back since 2000 with at least 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries for the this defense. They've been great in the red zone. We've talked about that, but just pretty good overall. It was Chris Godwin's day to day. He led the bulk of the Bucs receiving work. Mike Evans was quiet. Um, Surprising from him considering how great he's been all season. And would you put him above DJ Moore? I don't know, but Drake London, great game. For
He's
the
had a lot
Bucs.
of offensive production this year, a lot of impact on that offense.
Yeah, he's made some impactful plays. Um, Drake London, it's nice to finally see these Falcons top picks get their chances. They've been used their top picks on offensive weapons and haven't made them a priority to get them the ball. Saw Pitts get touched on today. London, 10 catches. Wasn't Bijan's day, but big win for the Bucs. I think with this win, I think at this point I put them to be my division winner at this point for this NFC South.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But might as well skip ahead a little bit and just do the other NFC South game here really quickly. Panthers and Saints. The Panthers are just really bad, man. They're just a bad football team. Who knows if they'll get another win this season. It seems like these teams end up stealing one late. They'll probably end up with 2 wins, but regardless, they are the worst team in the league. The Saints, like we said, they move up to that three-way tie. Didn't let this game even really be a problem for them at all, which they could have been looking ahead. They didn't look ahead. They got a win when they needed to. Just constant turnovers on downs for Carolina was just a problem. If they weren't punting it, they were turning it over on downs, and just not how you win a football game whatsoever. The Panthers defense overall played good in spurts, excuse me, but could not overcome how horrible this offense has been. I hope that Bryce Young gets some talent around him, gets a better offensive line, gets a real head coach, and can really show what he's about, because I still do see how talented he is, and I see what everyone saw coming out of college, out of Alabama. He was the number one pick for a reason. I think it's way too early to write him off as a bust. I hope he gets in a better situation here and can really show how good he is. If not, bring him to Detroit. I wanted him from the beginning, but regardless, Panthers suck. Saints had to get a win. They did, and now we got just a clusterfuck at the top of the NFC South here.
I'm loving that clusterfuck at the top of the NFC South, and I'm loving the basement of the NFC South even better. The Carolina Panthers just making that Bears #1 overall pick just look even more solid. Bryce Young, he was not great today. He, of course, as every week, he shows flashes of a superstar quarterback with the ability to hang into a tough pocket, even though he is undersized. But this week, kind of like last week, he had a run game. Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders had over 150 yards of offense or yards on the ground, and he was able to find Adam Thielen for another 5 times for 74 yards. Panthers defense, they just got to be a little bit better. They played well for the most part, but when your offense is this iffy, you've got to just try and make more plays. But given the lack of talent on both sides of the ball, I understand why they just have lost 12 times this year. The Saints, like you said, good for them getting a win. Did you guys see the Eric McCoy and Derek Carr argument as they were walking off the field because Carr took an unnecessary sack, it looked like?
Yeah,
I did not see that.
Oh, it's floating
They
around
said
Twitter
was,
somewhere.
they cleared it up after the game. They're all right.
I always love those when I love when teammates get at each other. It always shows how competitive all these guys are. But Saints, the end of this season is going to be really fun for the NFC South, or at least the top 3 teams, because every game is going to matter. You're probably going to see another 5 or 6 divisional games between the 3 of them. So every single game for those 3 teams at the top is important. So hopefully they figure it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say I'm really seeing the flashes right now from Bryce Young. It's just hard, man. 13 for 36, 137 yards. His big plays are the plays where he's able to scramble and get 10 yards, and he's smaller. I don't know if that's sustainable. Just a rough game. They had a run game, like you said, Zach. Their passing game is just atrocious. For the Saints, 3-way tie atop the NFC South. Saints' first win since November 5th. It's been a minute. Carr coming off last week, he left the game with a concussion, fractured ribs, sore shoulder. At what point do you just stay out, man? Just sometimes you're not helping your team. You're playing hurt. You're not doing much. 37 passing yards through 3+ quarters. Luckily for him, he inflated his stats at the end of that game, 18 for 26, 119 yards. I mean, you're just hurt, man. Let Jameis go out there, get a week, just take a week off. Jimmy Graham's touchdown, turn back the clock again. He likes to do that. And the Saints defense, 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Saints did what they had to do, didn't look past them, got the win.
All right. Moving on here then. Next game here, Colts at Bengals. Ronnie Harrison, pick six, did tie this game at half. It was a little shaky in the first half, but they got it to 14-14 going into half. And then the Colts just got shut out in the second half. I will say, I'm not going to comment on the officiating. I wasn't watching this one super closely. I know, Mike, you have some problems with the officiating, so I'm not even going to comment on that because I don't have anything to say. But Browning has been as good as possible in Joe Burrow's absence. Like, better than anybody could have expected from him. He's been solid, got this team over 500, and has them in that 7-6 group of teams in the AFC that have a shot at the playoffs. A lot of short drives, I feel like, for the Colts this game. A lot of punts. Outside of the 117 play touchdown drive that was really impressive in the first half. But overall, just I don't have a ton to say about this game, but the Bengals went, they got it done, and Browning has just been phenomenal compared to what we could have expected from him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Browning has been just unexpectedly great. He accounted for 3 total touchdowns. Chase Brown was the leading receiver for the Bengals, and he racked up 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, he only had 3 catches, but it didn't really matter because the Bengals defense got the job done, helped shut out the Colts in the second half. This was a game that the Colts really needed to have, especially with the Jags and Texans both dropping a game this week. So, Mike, I'll let you take care of the rest of that. But the Bengals, if Browning can play at this level, maybe they have some hope for snagging a 6 or a 7 seed in the wild card.
Yeah, the Colts, they didn't deserve to win this game. I'll start with that. But every time the Colts were able to make a big play that was turning the momentum, just a phantom flag was thrown every single time. And it was just so frustrating. The Chase Brown screenplay where he took it 6 yards for a touchdown. Kenny Moore, he doesn't miss tackles. He's not that type of guy. Just completely shoved in the back, right in front of the referee. Nothing. He goes for a 50-yard touchdown. That's 7 points right there. Colts rushing touchdown in the second half. Zach Moss got it. They called a holding on Quentin Nelson that was just insane. Pass interference, one on Jamar Chase, where Jalen Jones really was just guarding him, not too handsy at all. Flag. There was just so many different flags in the game that just shifted the momentum of the game. But Colts just didn't play good in the second half at all. Offense had nothing going. Gardner Minshew was not great today. Should have been taken out of the game. Got hit. He had a nice little scramble, got the first down, but got hit in the head, gets up stumbling, runs to the wrong side. I mean, what are we doing? This concussion stuff. If a guy visibly stumbles, how does he not get taken out of the game for at least a play or at least get checked out? Didn't get checked out at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes into concussion protocol this week, but just the NFL is supposed to be cracking down on concussions and they're just not doing it. Ridiculous. But Jake Browning, he played great. Got injured for a second there. It looked like he might have broken his finger. It was pretty scary, but somehow, luckily, it was just cramps. Went to the locker room and got it fixed. But the Bengals, they were able to just pick apart the Colts defense basically with one play, and that was a screen. 150 yards off of just like 3 separate screen plays, basically. It's not a good game for this defense. Got to be better, but you get a chance to go next week and play a team that you are notoriously very, very bad against. It's a new era. You got to switch it up. Find ways to win games like this. So big game next week. It's basically a playoff game going against the Steelers. For the Bengals, they're in the playoff run, and if Jake Browning like this, they can find their way into the playoffs.
Kind of building off of your point about the Minshew concussion, don't they have someone like upstairs looking for guys like stumbling around? How do you miss that?
They're supposed to, but
That's just crazy. Like, if that's your only job, how are you missing a guy like drunkenly stepping out of a car trying to walk to his front door?
I mean, when he got up, literally, like,
I just they're supposed to stop play and be like, hey, get this dude checked out. One eye's looking this way, the other one's looking straight ahead. You got to get him checked. But
yeah, and after that play, his play got a lot worse than it was before that play. So just completely switched up from how I was going. After that, I don't think we scored. So I don't know.
A lot of inconsistencies with the concussion protocol. We've known that for a long time now.
Yeah.
But we can move on here. Before we move on, Zach, did you switch the spelling of your name?
Did I?
Anyways, moving on here. Jags at
Oh, that's on me,
a lot
man.
of a lot of I just wanted to let you know in like a semi-smooth way, but whatever. The Jags at Browns. A lot of mistakes for Trevor Lawrence here in this game. We didn't think he was going to play. I mean, I think we can all say on Tuesday when we recorded our preview pod, we all assumed he wasn't going to play. I think we all went Browns on that one, right? I'm pretty sure we all went Browns.
Believe it
Um,
or not, I don't
and
have it pulled up right now. I will pull it up.
I'm almost positive we all went Browns on that one.
We all
Assuming
went
Trevor Lawrence
Cleveland, yeah.
yeah, assuming he wasn't going to play, he ended up playing. We all ended up being correct anyways. Just nice to stumble into a W once in a while. But
I don't know, man.
like I
Joe
said,
Flacco's pretty good. Like that
I was
I
guy.
about to
know,
say
man.
elite.
Oh my God, Flacco has been fantastic for this Browns team, and he's going to play in a playoff game. You love to see it. It would be poetic for him to go and beat the Ravens. Could you
Oh my
imagine?
God. I need
Could you
that.
imagine? That would be
That's must see
fantastic.
TV.
It is. I'm not sure how it looks after this 3 o'clock slate of games, but I know after the noon slate, all three AFC North teams were in the, or all four AFC North teams were in the playoff. The wild card
Colts are
was
in.
Browns, Colts are in now. Okay, so I'm guessing the Steelers got the boot. I don't
I'll take a
know,
look.
but it's
Bengals have
not.
the boot, I'm pretty sure, right now.
They did.
hmm
How?
I mean, they had the
Conference
tiebreaker
record.
over.
Conference record. Goes by conference
Oh,
record.
it's not. It's
Yeah,
not
that
head to
makes
head.
Conference record. Well, I mean, we have the tiebreaker on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Texans.
yeah.
It's a cluster right now.
Yeah. So I think there's hold on, I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah, there's 6, 7, and 6 teams in the AFC right now and 3, 8, and 5 teams. So we have no idea who's going to be in the playoffs with 4 weeks to go here. But back to this game here. The Jags defense has kind of come back to earth in the past few weeks. They were phenomenal in the first half of the season. Past 3, 4 weeks, they have not been. They didn't play well today whatsoever. The Jags couldn't run the ball, which is a problem for them, of course, especially when you got Trevor Lawrence given back there. But regardless, the Browns get a huge win, put themselves in that 8-5 category with they're one of the 3 8-5 teams right now. And I am completely rooting to see Joe Flacco in a playoff game, and I would love to see him win one.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole the words out of my mouth. Cleveland, they needed this win and they got it. This is a huge, huge step forward for them, and especially Joe Flacco threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But on the other side, Trevor Lawrence, he just didn't look healthy. Not that he shouldn't have been out there. He made some of his normal throws, but he just wasn't himself in the pocket. At like you said, he was gimping around. He wasn't able to move like when he faced pressure a few times. And he just wasn't himself. Evan Engram found the end zone twice on 11 catches for 95 yards, so career day for him. Calvin Ridley, in the absence of Christian Kirk because he was on the IR after last week's game, only 4 catches. He had like a bunch of targets, like 10 or 12 targets or something like that. Just couldn't connect. It didn't seem like he started off the season really strong, but he's just not getting that burst that he had in the first half of the year. So if the Jags want to have any sort of playoff success, they're going to have to try and figure out how to get him more involved or just get him going a lot sooner. But yeah, good for Cleveland. We need a Joe Flacco Baltimore Ravens playoff game. Saturday night, wild card weekend, that would be just pure storytelling.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says. Trevor Lawrence should not have played this game. High ankle sprain. Just give him a week off to rest it at least a week. We saw the Bengals play Joe Burrow possibly with an injury, and look at him now. His season's over. Luckily, Jake Browning has stepped in and been incredible for him. But you have to take care of your quarterback. That should be your number one priority is health. And like you said, Zach, Evan Engram, great game. I was hoping for more Ridley, but Trevor Lawrence just looked off. A couple bad throws, bad interceptions. And the Browns, they were able to capitalize. Flacco turned back the clock, looked pretty elite out there. Massive game from Njoku. 6 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. He played great. 389 yards of total offense for the Browns. And in his 2 starts this year, Flacco, 565 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just he's got this Browns offense going, and probably, in my opinion, so far, it's looked better than the Deshaun Watson offense. And at the start of the season, they had Nick Chubb there, so Flacco has this offense humming.
And just note, I mean, this is a little off topic, but we're starting both Monday Night Football games at the exact same time tomorrow.
It's perfect for me because I have Aaron Jones and Tajay Spears in fantasy. I need to know if Aaron Jones is playing because I'm fighting for my playoff life here.
Yeah, I got it. I'm waiting on Aaron Jones as well, but I'm realizing now that I don't have a backup. I just kind of assumed he was playing, but
I thought he was too.
I,
I've seen multiple reports of him just probably being good to go, but who
I
knows?
didn't think there was any chance he wasn't, but now that you say that, that doesn't make me feel good at all. But regardless, you move on here. Texans at Jets. Only punts in the first half of this game. Classic Big Ten football. You love to see it. What are we fist bumping for?
Oh, no punts.
Oh yeah. Let's go punts. But
Oh,
CJ Stroud is in concussion protocol. So that's a problem. Obviously, it sucks to see it. It sucks to see it. He's been so good this season. Tough drop from CD there. But but Zach Wilson played his ass off today against a defense that's been playing really good in the Texans. And the Jets had 30 points in the second half. That is just ridiculous for a team that has struggled to put up any points whatsoever. 30 points in the second half was phenomenal. I'm not super surprised by the CJ Stroud struggles in this game. Just this Jets defense is so good. Maybe I know the Browns defense has been crowned for like since like week 5's best defense in the league. I don't think it's crazy to say that it might be the Jets. They've been just shutting down teams. They shut down CJ Stroud today for the most part. And yeah, this AFC playoff race. I mean, we got another 7-6 team. Seems like every game we're going to be talking about today, we're going to have a 7-6 team. But we got another one here in the Texans. And I don't know. Do we want to do a quick check in of a prediction of which one of these 7-6 teams, or how many are going to make it? There's what, two of these 7-6 teams? I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Broncos, Broncos and Bills. Maybe I don't know who do the Bills. I don't know. Broncos Texans. I'm gonna say Broncos Texans.
I think that's a solid prediction. Depends on what Jake Browning we see. The Bengals have been really solid defensively the last few weeks, and Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. So we could see the Bengals really sneak in, but Buffalo, I don't like what I've seen from them. They've been really inconsistent on both sides of the ball. We'll get to what they did today later, but they don't feel like a 7-6 team. At times they look way worse, but at other times Josh Allen is just being one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and they look way better than 7-6. But I think Broncos and Texans are a safe bet. I don't have everybody's schedule out in front of me,
Yeah,
but
that was my problem too. I didn't want to just pull. I know the Bills
I
have a tough one. I know that's all I know.
right. If I had to guess, I think it's gonna. I don't think the Colts do it. Unfortunately, Steelers, their offense just sucks. I don't think so. Unless Cleveland just drops a few games, they'll probably stay in, even though they're 8-5. I think Broncos and Texans are definitely the two I'd probably take as well.
it's tough. I want to put the Texans in. I don't know if CJ Stroud will be out next week though. With the concussion, that
Right.
seems to be a big game. Um,
I
I'm leaning
mean,
towards Broncos being in. Uh, and then that last one's tough. It's between the Bills for me. I don't have the Bengals schedule. I guess maybe the Bengals are able to sneak in. Bills got the Cowboys next week, so and the Dolphins in week 18. So that's,
oh yeah, that's probably two L's right there.
I mean, you never know. Bengals still got Chiefs, Steelers, Browns. Tough schedule. I'll go with Texans, Broncos.
Clean sweep.
Oh, you said Texans Broncos too. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
you
like
guys
I
all
just
said that. Oh, I'll switch up then. Texans, Colts.
there you go.
Not picking your own
Yeah.
team there is crazy, but
Yeah, for sure. I would have said my team first and then sat there and just stared at it and thought of another one. But yeah, I don't even like, I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into this because we're gonna have weeks to talk about this. But let's see, who do the Broncos got? Oh yeah.
Broncos
Oh,
have
never
the
mind. The
easiest schedule.
Broncos are a good pick. Yeah.
who do
Lions
they
and
have?
then they got the Lions next week, which that at this point that's in Detroit. I would favor the Lions in that one. But then they got New England, Chargers, Vegas. That's
Ooh,
probably 3 wins.
that could be
But
3 wins.
especially if Herbert's hurt. If Herbert's
Right.
hurt, that's 3 wins.
Yes, I keep forgetting about his injury, but
Texans got Titans twice, Browns, Colts.
They got Titans twice.
Yeah, next week though, but I don't like that game if CJ Stroud's out.
Yeah, I
who's
mean,
their
I don't
backup?
like
Is it Davis
Davis
Mills?
Mills. Yeah.
I forgot.
And
All right.
possibly no. We'll get on.
Yeah, we'll see. You guys ready to move on here?
I don't think
All
either
right.
of us talked about Texans and Jets yet, but
Oh yeah. That's on me. That's on me. Go ahead.
so on the preview episode, I made a very bold claim saying that the Texans would hang 40 on the Jets. I could not have been more wrong. I'll own that. The Jets locked them down. This was easily CJ Stroud's worst start as a rookie, but That's saying a lot because he's been phenomenal this year. Coming into the game, he was on pace for over 5,000 yards. He's been nothing short of spectacular in terms of what a rookie is able to do. Now, on the Jets side, Zach Wilson had the game that I think I expected CJ Stroud to have. This was probably one of his best games he's had as a professional. This is the stat line that I expected to see out of Garrett Wilson this year on a game by game basis. 9 catches, 108 yards, regardless of who's at quarterback, probably Aaron Rodgers. I would expect that every single game from him. But he showed up in a big way today. I was really impressed. Brees Hall even had 8 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. So glad to see that everyone in the offense was getting involved, especially former Packer Randall Cobb. So that was nice to see ish. But yeah, Texans, I'd just throw this tape out, face a really, really good defense. And you'd maybe lose Stroud for a week because he had that concussion. But he might come back next week, or he might come back in 4 weeks. Who knows? Because the concussion rules are just fucked in this league. So
Yeah, it's hard to come back from 1 week if it is in concussion protocol. There hasn't been many people to beat it in 1 week, but 11
Purdy.
first half drives. Yeah, Purdy's one of them. Moelle Cox is one of them. There's
Chris
oh,
Olave did.
yeah, Olave. There's a couple, but 11 first half drive, 11 first half punts, 0 points. Just stuff you love to see there. Nico Collins sadly was hurt, so Texans down their top 3 weapons now. Tank Dell injured last week. Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz has been out the last couple of weeks. CJ Stroud concussion, he didn't look good either. Was on the ground for a while. Hopefully just take a week off, get right. You don't want to get that concussion even worse. We saw sadly with Hayden Hurst what's going on with him. Hope he's okay. But this Jets defense is just legit. They're top 3, top 5. And we saw again that they shouldn't have benched Zach Wilson. Just let him fight through the struggles. He's still young. And the other options just aren't good at all. But great game for that defense. Won them it. Nice to see. Aaron Rodgers is still not coming back.
All right, moving on here. Rams at Ravens. This is an overtime thriller won by a punt return. I believe that's the second time we've seen that this season. We had it on
Yeah.
the first Monday night game. Jets.
Egregious illegal block in the back on the punt return as
Oh
well.
yeah, wild, but whatever.
Maybe that's not a penalty anymore, though. I don't know. Maybe they got rid of blocking back.
Yeah, it's a lot of judgment calls. I don't want to get too deep into this, but it feels like this year more than ever, it's been a lot of what the fuck is a hold? Because sometimes they're like, oh, we'll call it every time it's a wrap, and then you'll see an edge rusher get completely wrapped around, no call. So it seems like okay, we're just gonna call like
it feels very subjective depending on the officiating crew.
Yeah, it feels like they're just tossed like 2 or 3 random ones in there because there's holds like every 2 plays. It seems like. So I mean, I guess
you can't do that because then nothing would get done. You'd have 5-hour games.
Yeah, you can't. I know you can't call it every time, but there's some that's like, man, like bear hugs, like even like Hutch gets spin happy, so that he falls into that a lot. But at the same time, you spin, you still can't get wrapped. You get wrapped, it's a hole. Like whoever your left tackle is, just completely withholding. Yeah, I don't know who.
I don't know. If it wasn't a bear, I'd say yeah, that's a penalty. But considering it was one of my guys, he boxed him up, aged him.
Regardless, I don't want to get too deep into this. I can talk about this all day. But anyways, both this Rams Ravens game, both offenses played really really well this game. They kept matching each other. It seemed like whenever one got a touchdown, the other one did. Whenever one got a field goal, the other one did. Whenever one punted, the other one did. It just happened basically all game. Led for a really really good game. Probably the most entertaining game all day here. Neither team though showed up in OT. They matched each other with punts, and it just happened to be that the Ravens got lucky, like you said, Mike. Missed call on that block in the back. They got lucky and they capitalized on it. It would have been a nice win for the Rams to get one here, but they are just showing week after week how well coached they are and how good of a team they are. I mean, you can go back and look at, I don't know what number episode it is. Whenever we covered the West, maybe 2 or 3. I don't know.
That sounds like 3. Episode 3, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 3. We went pretty in on the Rams, saying how this is one of the least talented teams in the NFC for sure, how the Cardinals could finish above them. And then all of a sudden they're in the playoff race here, and their team didn't change too much. I mean, obviously you get the resurgence of Puka Nacua, which nobody could have predicted, but and Kyron Williams. But regardless, how they're playing this year shows how well coached they are. Shout out to Sean McVay. I would love to see this team play in the playoffs, and we mentioned it last week. Lions, Matt Stafford. It's possible. I don't really want that matchup, but it would be cool
That
to
would
see.
be awesome. That'd be great. But on the Ravens side, it feels like Keaton Mitchell is kind of taking over the backfield. I don't know if it was just the pass happy game plan and they were just confident in his receiving ability, but it seemed like he was out snapping Gus Edwards for a majority of the game. Lamar was a little inefficient in terms of completions and attempts, but he still amassed 300 over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Odell Beckham had that beautiful touchdown catch. I believe it was 46 yards. He was tracking the ball over his shoulders. It was phenomenal. It looked like Giants OBJ for a second there. It was great. But like you said on the Ram side, Josh, they have firepower. They can keep up with almost any team. This Ravens defense has been really good. They got a lot of talent in a lot of places. Unfortunately, they lost Kyle Hamilton partway through the game, and he's gonna go get an MRI tomorrow. I believe I saw Shefty tweet. But even without him, they've got a lot of big names back there and a lot of talent. And this Rams offense just did not care. Stafford almost got 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kyron Williams, another 100-yard day on the ground with 20 plus carries. He continues to be an insane factor into this Rams offense, really helping out Matthew Stafford. And Kupp and Puka almost getting 200 total combined yards. No Tyler Higbee, but Davis Allen took no time in finding the end zone. And yeah, this Rams team could be really, really scary if they end up getting the 6th seed and face the Eagles, maybe, if they keep falling the way that they are. But or the Lions with how their defense is. But I feel like that'd be a really good game for multiple reasons, like you said, Josh. But yeah, Ravens, they keep fighting for that number 1 seed in the AFC, and Rams, they prove that they can score and make themselves known in the NFC wildcard race.
Yeah, hope Kyle Hamilton's all right to start this off. Ravens just ACL injuries just stick with that team. This is a knee injury, so hopefully it's not that. Great game offensively for both teams. Lamar 316 passing yards, Stafford 294 passing yards each. Both of them had 3 touchdown passes. Stafford, he's been notoriously very bad in rain games. 1 and 5, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, only 56% completion, but really escaped that today. He played very good. Lamar, great final drive in regulation, found Zay Flowers for a touchdown and also the 2-point conversion. Stafford matched him, got the field goal to force overtime. Ravens, this was the first time they had trailed after 3 quarters all season. So just they've been dominating the top 3 quarters, got to finish the game. It's been their struggle for, I feel like, a couple years now. I had touched on the block in the back, egregious block in the back and the kick return. Was electric, big win for the Ravens. They're fighting for that top seed in the AFC with the Dolphins at this point. And for the Rams, they're still in the playoff hunt, and they're going to easily sneak in the playoffs, in my opinion. If you look at their schedule, next 3 games are very winnable for them. Commies, Saints, and what was the last one? Commies, Saints, Giants. Those are their next 3 games.
Yeah.
So those are 3 games they should win, and by week 18 kind of be in the playoffs. So big win for the Ravens, I guess.
All right, moving on here. What just happened? Was that a fumble recovery touchdown?
Yeah,
Fumble
Jalen
6,
Carter, fumble
Jalen Carter.
6.
I saw he returned it. Who fumbled?
Dak.
Dak fumbled? Oh, I hear
Dak
you.
fumbled.
Ooh, oh, yeah, just completely lost the ball there. All right.
I'll take it.
Moving on here. Vikings at Raiders, the 4 o'clock slate. This game was 0-0 until just after the 2-minute warning. I was obviously not rooting for the Vikings to win this game, just for NFC North purposes, but so badly did I want that 0-0 tie. That would have just been so sick. Or at least just going to OT would have been cool. But 0-0 just after the 2-minute warning before the Vikings kicked their lone field goal for the lone points of this game. Every Raiders drive ended in punts, except for they did have 3 turnovers in this game, which explains why they had 0 points. But they didn't miss any field goals because they didn't take any. But Dobbs late in this game gets benched for Mullins, who ends up having the game-winning drive, I guess, if you want to call it that, for that field goal late in the game to make it 3-0. He gets benched. He also gave Justin Jefferson literally the definition of a hospital ball, as they call it in the business. I think the hospital Jefferson going to the hospital was just for precautionary reasons. I don't think it was.
It was a chest injury, so yeah, they kind of have to.
Yeah, but regardless, that was just horrible. You hate to see it. And Justin Jefferson's first game back, He gets hurt in a ball that was really just not his fault. It was completely on Dobbs. And I don't know if maybe that plays into the reason why he gets benched late in this game. It's hard. It's hard not to be like, okay, yeah, this guy came in, nobody really has a big connection to him. We get our best receiver back, and then he puts him in a spot where he's absolutely fucked and hurts our best player. It's hard not to be like, yeah, okay, bro, and have a little spite towards him. So maybe that went into the decision, or maybe it's the fact that they had 0 points. But the Vikings didn't look good at all in this game. I don't want to give them any praise. Their defense played good, but the Raiders' offense isn't really good. We've seen that. I will give praise though to the Raiders defense. They've been playing super, super well ever since McDaniels got fired. So shout out to them. This Vikings offense hasn't been great either, but they did shut them down. But yeah, overall, just a ugly win for the Vikings. But regardless, they're 2 games out of the first in the North now.
If you're looking at strictly box score, you would have thought this game was played in a monsoon or some sort of blizzard with the 17 total punts that we saw in this game. Or I didn't see, I didn't want to watch that shit, but there were 17 total punts, 9 by the Vikings, 8 by the Raiders. Like you said, Nick Mullins came in relief for Dobbs. There was really no run game coming in for the Raiders, but Madison did get like 6.5 yards of carry for the Vikings. Like you said, Jefferson left early with that injury. Hawkinson really didn't have that great of a game while he was gone, but part of that could have been due to Nick Mullins just not having the connection with him that Dobbs did while Jefferson was out. This is the second straight week that the Vikings offense has looked really, really, really bad against teams that you might not think are just going to stuff you on defense. The Raiders and Bears are not known for having a stifling defense this entire year, but they're holding the Vikings to a total of 13 points over the last 2 games, which is not a good look at all. But for the Vikings, they get a win. No matter how ugly it is, it's kind of just survive and advance at this point, because if you're fighting for a wild card spot, you get into the playoffs, you get Jefferson healthy. If he even wants to come back and play with Dobbs, who knows? But you get healthy, you just hope Flores gets some stuff cooked up for a potentially juicy um, first round matchup against the 2 seed or 3 seed probably in the NFC, and maybe you come out with a win, make some noise.
Yeah, this game made my eyes hurt a little bit, but I loved it again. Another low scoring game. Um, it was the first time since October of 1988 that 2 games were scoreless at halftime on the same day. So that's just football, baby. This game was
That's
scoreless
the
entering the
Jets
fourth.
too.
Yeah, this game was scoreless. For the entering the fourth quarter for the first time since week 17 of 2017. That game was Cowboys Eagles. So that game's going on right now. It's not 0-0, so that will not happen again. Lowest scoring NFL game in 16 years. It's been a long time. A 2-0 game would have been a lot cooler, but I'll take 3-0 anytime I can get it.
Electric.
The Raiders, seems like their honeymoon era in this interim from AP just isn't going as planned anymore. They're struggling. Supposed to be a players-led team. Doesn't really seem like it's going great. Devontae Adams, I think, left the locker room early before any media could even get in. He seems to be pretty pissed off, and this team's just not playing great at this point. Josh Jacobs got hurt, knee injury. That's hopefully he can be okay to come back next week. He wasn't playing great. But yeah, Vikings, you got to find ways to win games, and they did. 3-0. It's a one-score game. They've been pretty good at one-score games under Kevin O'Connell, and they get it done again. And that was just the definition of a hospital ball, and it was a hospital ball. He went to the hospital. So hopefully Jefferson's okay and doesn't miss any more time. It'll be interesting to see. Big win for the Vikings, though.
All right, moving on here to another game with a monster injury. Broncos at Chargers. Justin Herbert gets hurt in the first half. I don't. What was it? Was it Was it like an index finger
It
fracture?
was he fractured his right index finger.
Okay, yeah. So obviously for a right-handed quarterback, very, very important. Thank you for showing us the graphics there, Mike.
Is that what it looks like? That's crazy.
Right index
That
finger.
is that's what we call an index finger in the in the game. But regardless, yeah, you want to show us how it would affect a throw? Or...
See,
I don't really know, but
you have a
would hurt.
football, it like you grab it on the side like this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for that. Chargers essentially are eliminated now. Thank God. Let's go. Bless up. Fuck the Chargers. Happy to see that we're not going to have to watch them blow another giant lead in the playoffs. They're kind of just really not worth picking up a spot on Super Wildcard weekend. Hopefully Staley will be out. I'm tired of seeing his face on the sidelines. Even if it ends up being Ben Johnson, I would at least like to see what Ben Johnson's offense could do in LA. I think it would be great to watch. A lot of fun targets on that offense. Great quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think they could do some real special things. But to get back to this game, Broncos get a huge divisional win. We talked about it earlier in this pod. They're in that 7-6 cluster of teams in the AFC now, and they have maybe the best shot to get in the playoffs out of their group. They have a really easy schedule going forward. If they can manage to go get a win in Detroit on Saturday night next week, that will put them in a position where it's hard to imagine that they don't make the playoffs. Their defense was playing well in the short time that Herbert was in the game, and they obviously played really, really well when Easton Stick was in the game. But overall, Sean Payton has completely turned this team around. And could you imagine if you told us week 6 that the Broncos were going to be a playoff favorite in week
Not even
14?
then, after they gave up 70, if you would have told us that.
Yeah.
Just
And
insane.
look it up. There was a lot. I mean,
The
how
Jets
much
game.
exactly? How much talk was there about Sean Payton and Russell Wilson?
My
And
God.
it has gone radio silent. No one says a word about it. And they're playing really good football, and I'm rooting for them because I like Sean Payton. I don't really have an opinion on Russ, but I'm rooting for a giant midseason comeback whenever I can. So, and I'm rooting for anybody who plays the Chargers.
Wow. Well, I didn't know this until like looking it up, not even like 15 minutes ago. The Broncos are one game behind Kansas City for the AFC West, which is
Wow.
absurd to think about. That's
And they
just
split with them, right?
crazy. Yeah,
Yep.
they split. I believe, yeah, the Broncos won the one on I think they won the Sunday one, the Chiefs won the Thursday night football one, unless they played both times on Thursday. But
You're
either
right.
way, Russ looked pretty solid. Javonte Williams was also really solid on the ground. Cortland Sutton, another phenomenal catch. He seems to do at least one or two of these every week. So he's going to have a hell of an end of season highlight reel. Easton Stick, he had a crazy throw to Quentin Johnson as well. And obviously, Quentin Johnson was able to haul it in because he wasn't using his hands, he used his chest. So he's never beating the lack of hands catching allegations anytime soon. Austin Eckler actually found a decent bit of daylight in the run game. He averaged just over 5 yards a carry, found the end zone as well. But he also caught 5 passes for 49 yards to bring his total to exactly 100 yards on the day on 15 touches. So Eckler, I don't know what to feel about him anymore. I feel like I saw this one TikTok saying that the fantasy football players are kind of ruining our perspective on like fantasy running backs or just running backs in the NFL because of fantasy. And Eckler is a prime example of that. If you just take out all the fantasy football, he's a 5'10 wide receiver who lines up in the backfield. That's honestly exactly what he is. He's not an outstanding runner. The bulk of his highlights are just crazy, like run after catch out of the backfield or even just next to the tackle in the slot, if you want to call it that. But he's nothing special. So
You're talking about Eckler?
Eckler, yeah.
He is built like a linebacker though. And in his great seasons, like last year, he was breaking tackles
Yeah, but he's
and he's
doing
a
that
hard
like
guy to bring down.
well, yeah, because he's just so low to the ground. He's got broad shoulders. Like he's
Low to the ground. It's a funny
I
way to
mean
call someone short.
but I mean Keenan Allen, he wasn't quiet today. He just didn't have any crazy like impactful plays. But yeah, Chargers, we hate you. All due respect, and your 7 fans out there, including that one planted one from that Sunday night game a month or so ago. But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Just big game from the. I don't hate the Chargers, by the way. I actually really like the Chargers. I just absolutely hate Brandon Staley at this point. Staley is Staley. I can't get behind it. Herbert, sad injury to the finger, could be season ending. Easton Stick is their backup, not the hockey stick. It's actually his name, Easton Stick. Um, just the Chargers just need to fire Staley. Herbert was sacked 4 times in the game while he was playing, hit 6 times. This Broncos pass rush continues to heat up. Their secondary has already been playing very good football recently. Um, Broncos, they're one of the scariest teams to play right now. If Russ Wilson can just limit the turnovers, continue to just get touchdowns, score points. Javonte Williams finally found the end zone. It had been since like December of 2021 or something ridiculous. It's been a long time. But only a game back from the Chiefs. Call me crazy, but they could win this divisions with the way they're playing a lot better football than the Chiefs right now. And for the Chargers, last thing, just nice to see Quentin Johnson, 3 catches, 91 yards. He gets a lot of hate, but just got to continue to put your head down and grind and play football.
All right, moving on here then. Okay, so we'll stick with the AFC West here and move on to Bills and Chiefs. I just want to start off with we got this notification as we're recording here. After the game, Patrick Mahomes went up to Josh Allen for the regular quarterback to quarterback handshake, and Patrick Mahomes said to Josh Allen before, didn't say anything else to him when they hugged, said, oddest fucking call I've ever seen. Offensive offsides on that play, man. Fucking terrible. And Josh Allen was just like, me? He like didn't even know what to say. He couldn't believe it. But that was some sore loser shit. Kind of a bad look for Mahomes. I wouldn't be shocked to hear him apologize for that. That was kind of out of pocket for him. But in this game, neither of those two quarterbacks really looked amazing. Josh Allen had one throw where he was like falling back onto the sidelines and recovered and made a throw to I don't even remember who it was,
Latavius
but
Murray.
yeah, Latavius Murray. That was one of the best throws I've seen all year. I saw live, I was like, Jesus Christ, that was crazy, bro. It looked like when an NBA player like saves a ball and falls out of bounds. Like it was crazy. That was a great throw by him. It was a solid game overall. It's sad that it came down to the controversy. As we said,
No controversy.
Definitely
as
not a
yeah, not
controversy.
not really controversy, but you know what I mean. Um, what I was just talking about with the Mahomes thing, Kadarius Toney lined up offsides, was way offsides. He was like in front of the center almost. And it just happened to be on the play where Travis Kelce makes an insane lateral to Kadarius Toney, and he takes it to the house, which would have taken the lead for them late in that game. So it sucks that everyone's just talking about that one play. It would have been cool to see that be a successful play because it was just so sick. It was just a dope play. We've seen Kelsey do that time and time again. He loves throwing that lateral. And honestly, I don't know why more teams don't do it. It seems like whenever he does it, it usually works for him. But regardless, it's a monster road win for Buffalo when they needed it. We said earlier this week it sucks for the Bills that this game was a must win for them going into Arrowhead. It's tough to have that game be your must win, but they went in there and they got the win, and they're in that 6 team cluster of 7 and 6 teams now in the AFC.
Yeah, you mentioned that sideline throw for Josh Allen. There was another throw where he's just flat footed sitting in the pocket and just wrist flicked it like 30 plus yards to his right to, I think it was Shakir maybe, but that was a phenomenal throw as well. Just got him right on the money and it moved the chains. I wish the Bills got James Cook a little bit more involved in the run game. He clearly had an eye for open space. He got that wide open touchdown in the first quarter. He was their leading receiver, actually, with 5 catches for 83 yards, found the end zone, but only 10 carries on the ground. I'm a big James Cook guy. I feel like he has a lot to offer to really any offense and a really solid complement to Josh Allen. So I think given the nature of the game, I understand why you throw the ball 40 plus times with your best player and one of the best quarterbacks on the planet. But I feel like James Cook could definitely be a little bit more involved and you could have a lot of success with him. On the other side, yeah, it was easily offsides on Kadarius Toney. No question about it. Classless move by Mahomes complaining to the other team's quarterback like he had an impact on that call. So I don't know.
Josh Allen's face in that is just so funny.
He was just like, all right, congrats, bud. But it seemed like Mahomes and Kelsey seemed like they were getting back on the same page compared to last week. 2 more catches compared to last week. 6 catches for 83 yards this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon combined for just over 50 yards in relief of Isaiah Pacheco, who was thrown on the IR after an injury. So unfortunately, the grass will live to see another day in every single stadium the Chiefs play in the rest of the year because he runs so angry. But I'm still curious as what Von Miller's issue is. The arrest thing aside, more so injury wise. More so injury wise. More so injury wise because he's only coming in on like random second or third downs. He's just big money player. Is the injury really just lingering that bad, or is he just? I don't know. He's a $20 million guy. He signed like a 100-year,
Getting old.
a 5-year, $100 million contract. I mean, you would hope that you could have that guy out there for a lot more than just like, I don't know, 15 snaps a game. But I don't know. If it's an injury, then I guess I can understand. But I wish he would just get healthy so we can really see how good this Bills defense can be despite all those injuries that they've accumulated throughout the year. They came up with a couple clutch takeaways, one of which being that I think it was Teron Johnson just ripping it from Rashee Rice. That was really impressive because he was just grabbing him from behind, pause, and just somehow ripped it out. But yeah, Bills made enough plays to win the game, and Mahomes stopped being a crybaby ass bitch. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'll talk about the Bills real quick. Uh, they did what they had to do. They won the game. I don't know what pregame speech or what Sean McDermott did to get this team going. Um, must have done something
I
right.
was gonna say, are we gonna talk about that?
Had to be Boston Marathon. Had to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did. They had teamwork in this game. Their defense helped them win. Their offense helped them win. Good job. Run game wasn't necessarily there. Diggs was off. They didn't really have that connection going. But you win football games, and that's all that matters. And now just to the Chiefs. Yeah, cool play. Yeah. Saying the refs robbed them of greatness. The refs didn't rob anybody of greatness. Kadarius Toney did, lining up offsides. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, RG3 specifically, just loves to chime in on stuff like this. Talk about how they should be warned. They have to be warned that they're offsides in order for the flag to be thrown. They don't need to be warned. There is no warning is required, especially if they are lined up. And this is from like the main ref guy. He said, no warning is required, especially if they are lined so far off sides that they're actually blocking the view of the ball. So no warning is required. Mahomes, this is just absolutely I've always liked the Chiefs. I've always been a big fan of Andy Reid. I was a fan of Mahomes when he was younger, but they're just becoming a hard team to kind of just, I don't know. Brittany Mahomes after the game posts the ref and says MVP. Like, just shut up, man. Shut up.
I didn't see that.
Do you remember week 1 of the NFL season when the Chiefs, the entire game, had Jawan Taylor basically lining up in the backfield and false start every single play? I know you remember. I just wanted to make sure. Where was this outrage then? Where did she post MVP of the game for them then? No. This is just ridiculous. This is classless. Mahomes, what are you doing, man? And doubling down in the post game. This just irks me when stuff like this happens. You can blame the refs if there's an actual reason to blame the refs, or if they throw a flag like the Saints going to the Super Bowl. You can be legitimately pissed off at stuff like that, or phantom flags, like in just to mention earlier in the Colts Browns game this season. But this was an offside. Like, you can't deny that he was lined up offside.
It's literally textbook.
He's literally standing in front of the football, and to be this mad and this, I don't know, that just pisses me off. I'm so happy the Bills won. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and I shouldn't be, considering they might take the spot from the Colts. But
yeah, I mean, Brittany Mahomes didn't post MVP week 1 because they don't give MVP to the losing team. So I would assume that's why she didn't do that. But regardless, yeah, I mean, what are we doing? You're the
they
Chiefs.
have a Super Bowl off of a ref call. They literally won the Super Bowl last year off of a ref call.
I still think that was kind of the correct call, but that's just me.
I agree. I do think it was the correct call too, but it could have been called for sure. And I'll say just about the whole like warning thing. I understand why you're mad that you didn't get a warning, because they do give warnings, but they shouldn't be giving any warnings ever.
They never give warnings. I don't think they ever give warnings. I think the receivers literally look to the side and they give the thumbs up saying like, hey, am I good? And they'll give them a quick nod, and then they reset themselves.
That's a warning. That happened recently, didn't it? Did it not? Like last season?
I have no idea, but I know the refs don't just straight up say like, hey, 19, you're off. Like, you have to look and make sure you're good.
What game was that? I can't even remember. I remember that being a problem though. I can't. But
might have been
there should be. It kind of feels like it was for some reason. Maybe, I don't know.
They've had a lot of line of scrimmage issues this year.
Yeah, the Chiefs have gotten plenty of help in the past. No, I don't think anyone feels bad for the Chiefs. The only part that sucks is we didn't get to have that Kelsey play count because it was a great play. That is saying like they robbed them. Yeah,
they weren't robbed of a historic play, but it definitely was going to be a historic play. One of the craziest of all time. Yeah, easily.
Robbed of greatness is a bit dramatic.
Robbed is incorrect. There was no robbery. You got your card got denied at the Dunkin' Donuts counter. You didn't,
and what?
I don't know. Like,
once again, there was no robbery. Familiar suspect too for losing these games for them. Kadarius Toney is just.
I don't know how he's still on the team.
I mean, he had the punt return to basically win him the Super Bowl. So,
But like after that drop that went right into Branch's hands for the pick six in week 1, he's got to be close to like 4 million drops this year, right? And
he had a couple drops in that game too. They could have won it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Granted, though, this should have been fucking first and 85 with all those false starts. But regardless, we'll move on.
Did you guys one more thing? Did you guys see the pregame? Taylor Swift walking into the tunnel like she's like a player on the team or something.
Yeah.
I did
And
not see that.
The Bills team is just like standing right there, and she just stares at him and walks past.
Doing like a Conor McGregor kind of walk into the locker room too. And then Tony Romo accidentally called her Travis's wife during the game.
Oh, I heard that.
Drew Nance was like, "Do you know something that we don't know?" I was like, oh, tough luck. But last game of the day here for us. Seahawks at 49ers. Drew Lock started this game in place of Geno Smith, and he played surprisingly pretty well and kept Seattle in this game for a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're going to just keep coming on here and saying this. San Francisco, their playmakers just make plays every single game. They have Deebo Samuel, who is definitely a top 20 receiver in the NFL, and he played phenomenal today. I'll touch on him a little bit later when we talk about studs and duds, but McCaffrey, just a freak, man, week in and week out. In the few weeks we've been doing the studs and duds, we haven't even talked about him, and I think it's just normal for him. Like over 100 yards rushing, dominance throughout is just normal for him. He only had one catch today, which was surprising, but Purdy was showing the love to Ayuk and Deebo and Kittle, so that's not that shocking. But Drew Lock, like I said, he played pretty decent. If he didn't throw those picks, Seattle has a real chance to win this game in San Francisco, which is huge for them. If Geno Smith plays, maybe they have a chance. Maybe it goes the same way. I don't know if Geno throws 2 picks. There's no way to know that. But regardless, I would say this is overall maybe a moral win for Seattle. Maybe there's no moral wins when you're trying to compete for a playoff spot and you've lost 4 straight. But at the end of the day, you had your backup quarterback in and you gave one of the best teams in the league a run for their money. And DK just doing whiny DK stuff, man. He's another guy. He's tough to root for.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's not really moral victories in the NFL. I guess you can say that this one kind of was, considering that San Francisco's been blowing out Dallas and Philly this year by a combined, I think, 55 points. And only losing by 2 scores to a powerhouse like San Francisco, I guess you can take that to the next week and say, oh, we were actually pretty solid. But like you said, Josh, DK, a little whiny, but still a really good receiver. Only 2 catches for 52 yards and found the end zone. Did his whole little sign language thing, stand on business, like whatever he wants. I would really like to see what the inside of the locker room is like with this whole Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker split. They're both really talented backs, but I feel like Kenneth Walker's easily your better back out of the 2. I would like to see him get a lot more snaps, even though he is working his way back from injury. I just like him a lot more than Charbonnet, at least at this point in their careers. I feel like you got to keep rocking with K9 a lot more. But on the San Francisco side, yeah, CMC, I know you said that we don't take him for studs and duds. I try and focus on guys who aren't like bona fide like superstars for that, kind of like give the guys who are in the shadow a little bit more shine. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey's a week in and week out superstar who is just phenomenal, has done nothing but benefit from this Shanahan system and was phenomenal before he even came into this system. He's a super talented guy, came from a long lineage of athletes. Both his mom and dad were super talented in college and his dad in the NFL. But Deebo Samuel, phenomenal day. Yeah, that's all I got about him. Ayuk, another phenomenal day. He's been really, really good this year, really coming into his own. And Brock Purdy, yet another phenomenal performance, over 360 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's slowly working his way into that MVP conversation. I think Tyreek personally should win it because he's about to break 2,000 receiving yards this year. So I really like him. And Dak's probably my number 2. But number 3, I think you can argue Brock Purdy's in there for number 3 as well.
Oh, he's definitely in there. I don't know, to touch on the DK Metcalf, talking about his sign language thing. Did you guys see post-game?
I did.
The 49ers long snapper?
Yeah.
He posted in sign language. He said 14 fucked around and found out. That's hard.
That's so hard.
That is hard.
DK Metcalf bodied today. Not a good
It's funny. It's funny to imagine him in the locker room after like trying to learn it.
It's been like 35 minutes, just like
he keeps having to he records it and then has to put his phone back down to look it up again just to make sure he's got it right.
Yeah. This Seahawks team, they're in a rough spot now. 6-7. Geno Smith hurt. Drew Lock, he didn't play great. He's just not that good of a quarterback in my opinion. He had 269 yards, had 2 touchdowns, but this offense, I guess not much you're gonna do against this 49ers defense that's been playing great recently. Jamal Adams cooked today again. Deebo Samuel dominated him. I'm another guy. It's hard to root for Jamal Adams at this point in his career. I'm very glad that he got cooked today. Going after reporters' wives is just ridiculous. I don't even know how that's even like.
Doubling
They
and
go
tripling
low.
down to
And then yeah, tripling down, saying when people go low, I go lower. That's not a flex, dog. I don't know what you're doing. That's not a flex.
I
I
guess
guess
you
one
can
thing you could say
kind
is
of
he
say
does.
he's standing on business.
I was about to say that's the one thing you
Kind
could
of,
say
a
is he's
little
standing
bit.
Standing on
on
business, but like, dude, at least go. At least I don't. He shouldn't go after the reporter, but at least go after the reporter.
Yeah, yeah.
Going after his
Wife is
ridiculous.
crazy. Wife is crazy. But
That's just ridiculous. But Purdy, great
he's
game
never
again.
been known as a good guy. I was not. That was
Yeah,
never something he was known for.
not known as a great guy at this point. And I was rooting for him because he was coming back from the injury. He got hurt right away again. Naturally, and then he assaulted the concussion guy too. So
Oh, I forgot about that. The unaffiliated neuro, whatever.
yeah, a
I forgot
concussion
about
guy
that.
actually trying to do his job. Um, but yeah, Purdy, he looked great again. He has had great touch on the deep balls today, 368 passing yards. Deebo Samuel, sorry, big game from Deebo Samuel, 7 catches,
Jesus.
149 yards, 2 total touchdowns. Just happy this 49ers team has looked great. They're my Super Bowl pick at this point. There's really no holes in this team, so it's just a great win.
They're definitely my Super Bowl pick as well. But
100%.
um,
Mine as well.
we'll move on here. Finish up the episode as always with studs and duds. Zach, you said you wanted to get us started with this one.
Yes, I would. So my stud of the week is the Bears defense, but more specifically Jaquan Brisker. He racked up 17 tackles and 1 pass deflection today. And that was the most tackles by a Bears defensive back since 1960. So I think that's definitely worth mentioning. And the Bears defense held the Lions offense to only 13 points. And they played all 60 minutes this time. So I think that's definitely something to applaud. My dud of the week from the same game, kind of just taking my little victory lap because I won't get many of them. Amon-Ra St. Brown, only 3 catches for 20 yards, and he had a drop on the final drive on a 3rd and long. It hit him square in the chest. So, yeah, that's my stud and dud of the week.
He'll be on the jug machine, probably catch 400 balls tonight. But that's not something you see out of him ever, really. But my studs and duds, I got a couple studs here. I'll start off with I've just been doing one, but I got a couple this week. So I got Drake London. He was fantastic today. 10 catches on 11 targets, 172 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but maybe his best game as a pro. He was phenomenal today. Too bad they couldn't get the win, but he showed why he was drafted as high as he was last year. And then my main stud here, a definite top 20 receiver, Deebo Samuel. I don't know how you could argue any different. We will talk about it on next episode when Zach gives us his list of 20 receivers better
I
than
could
Deebo
rip it out
Samuel.
now, honestly.
I mean, let's save it. We got a long episode here. Let's save it so our previews are usually shorter anyways. So we'll save it because I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
We got all 16 games next week, so
If you want to do it now, you can.
and we're gonna do probably the in-season tournament as well.
Yeah, that is true. If you want to do it now, you can. But let me just say 161 yards.
We'll let you guys rip off yours real quick.
Hold on, where is it? Oh, 149 yards. Sorry, 7 catches, got in the end zone. He's phenomenal. One of the best gadget receivers in the league. He's the best yak receiver outside of maybe Tyreek Hill in the league. No one can break tackles and run after the catch like Deebo Samuel can. Not a single receiver in the NFL can. And then for my dud, I am going to go with Jordan Addison. Jefferson got hurt this week, and he needed to step up for this Vikings offense, and he just couldn't. He had 2 catches on 3 targets for 27 yards, and he has been crowned as been really, really good in the absence of Justin Jefferson. He has had some good games, but he's been pretty poor the past 5, 6 weeks. His last 5 games, he has 5 catches, 52 yards, 4 catches, 69 yards, 3 catches, 44 yards, 6 catches, 39 yards, and then 2 catches, 27 today, and 0 touchdowns in those 5 games. So he's kind of had a quiet fall off that no one really has talked about. So I just wanted to point that out. He has not been really good at all.
Yeah, you stole my start of the week, Deebo, but I have a couple. Um, Evan Engram, shout out, honorable mention. He was great this week. 11 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I'll go with the tight end that lined up across from him. He might have had worse stats, but his team got the W in the end. David Njoku, 6 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Maybe I give it to Joe Flacco for, again, looking elite. And then honorable mention to Brandon Aubrey. His game's not over, but I mean, he can kick from basically anywhere on the football field at this point. I don't know if he'd miss. My duds of the week, honorable mention, Jawan Howard for assaulting one of his members of his coaching staff. But my dud of the week is Patrick Mahomes for just being a bitch. So my dud of the week.
All right.
Phenomenal.
Do we want to do this now, or do we want to save it for next episode?
I would love to rip this off now.
All right, go ahead then.
All right. So basically, earlier in the episode, I made a claim that I think there are 20 receivers that I'd take over Deebo. And I came up with a list of, I believe, 22 guys, but they fall into 2 tiers. Tier 1 is
No,
guys
man.
I would
One
take
tier.
100% over Deebo. And then there's another tier underneath that it's like, all right, you could probably argue Deebo.
Stand on
over
business. Stand on business.
Yeah, you
So-
said 20 receivers better than Deebo. Maybe.
And going through it, I might have been a little excessive. 15, I think that's definitely possible.
Go ahead.
I'm going Tyreek, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk. Did I say DK already?
Come on, bro. We're
What?
gonna do this. I
DK.
love Ayuk, but we're not gonna do
I
this.
like I love
Ayuk-
Ayuk's
Okay,
route running. I love his
what has
route
DK
running.
done this year? What has DK done this year? He's one game.
I feel like you can say that for Deebo as well.
That's just not true. That's a wild tame.
I feel like DK's been pretty solid given
No, he's not.
what he's
This is
got.
why I wanted to do. This is why I wanted to do this next episode because I feel like we could talk about this for a while. But
And then in my maybes section, I've got Mike Williams, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin,
oh
T.
come
Higgins, Cortland
on,
Sutton.
Mike
Williams.
Williams
Why are we hating on
Come
Mike Williams so
on.
much?
over Deebo.
He's a stud. Why are we hating on Mike Williams so much?
Go after.
That's
Mike
definitely
Deebo.
that's
I wanna hate
definitely
on Mike
that is
Williams. I love Mike
definitely
Williams.
I
recency
like him
Deebo.
bias.
too.
And then I
Deebo
got
is
Deebo is
Cortland
ridiculous.
Sutton, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, and Amari Cooper.
Stop it! Get out of here, bro. Get out of here.
He's a maybe. He's a maybe.
No, he's a no, bro.
I think there's
I honest-
easily 15 guys within that group of 22 or 23 I named.
I mean, I'd
Who
have
are
to
the
go
big
through.
gripes that you guys have?
Well, I mean, I'm
Can
not
you
even
repeat
gonna
that
touch a
last
maybe.
group again?
I'm not
After
even
Mike
gonna touch a
Williams.
maybe.
After Mike Williams, Devonta Smith, Scary Terry, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, and Amari Cooper.
The only one I'll
I'm not
give you there
even touching
maybe
maybe.
is Waddle. Maybe
I'd say
Waddle.
maybe Amari Cooper. That's it.
I feel like my 3 favorites out of the maybes is Terry, Waddle, and Cooper.
Terry, bro. What?
Yeah,
Why are
I
we
have
hitting
a-
on Terry
favorite
McLaurin?
receiver, bro.
I have an
Why are you hating
astounding
on
no for
production?
almost everybody in that maybe list.
Oh,
think
I
the
never
reason
said
that
I never
production
said
matters.
Puka as well.
Okay, come on, bro.
I'd
I
take
love
Puka over
too,
Debo
but
right
Pu-
now. I'd take
This
Puka over
season,
Debo right now.
maybe he's had better stats. This
I'm not even
season,
talking
but
this
as an
season, just
overall
talking
receiver,
straight
I'm
up
taking
talent wise and what I've seen in their game. I like Puka a little bit better than Debo.
Talent-wise,
talent-wise. it's
there's not a
ridiculous.
receiver outside of Tyreek Hill on that list that can do what Debo can do. Not a single one.
That has nothing to do with it.
You-
Tyreek can't do what Debo does. Tyreek isn't getting handoffs and he doesn't have the contact balance that Debo does. But
I'm talking
Debo
about
also doesn't have
pure-
the hands that a lot of these guys on this list has, or the route running.
I swear people just don't talk about Debo's route running or hands or talk about it like it's not still good just because
Oh no,
he
they're
runs out of
definitely
the
good.
backfield.
It's just he's not I wouldn't put him on par with Tyreek, CD, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, like Justin Jefferson. There's a lot of guys that I'd easily take their route running over Debo.
Say that back end of the non maybes again.
I went out of order, but I had of the guys that I mentioned, it was Ayuk, DJ Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I said Jamar Chase late, Mike Evans.
See, I'm going to be
didn't say DK
biased, but
Metcalf last
I have Debo and Amon Rod dead the same. And honestly, I think I might have Debo ahead of him.
Wow.
And I definitely have Debo over DJ Moore. I definitely have Debo over Mike Evans.
I feel like
Mike Evans.
DJ and Debo are not the exact same receiver, but their builds are so similar. Like they're bigger guys who just don't go down. They break crazy number of tackles. They bounce off. They got great contact balance. It's
I'll give
super
you that,
impressive.
but I think the argument can be made that DJ in that case is just the Walmart version of Deebo.
Well, no, that's not true because he's just a better pass catcher. Deebo's versatility is what makes him so like sought after, I guess. But
I don't know, man. I feel like you are insanely disrespecting Deebo
I'm not
Samuel.
trying to disrespect him. It's just I like a lot of guys more than Deebo.
And Ayuk too. I love Ayuk.
If we take Deebo out of the Shanahan offense and he isn't like this crazy rusher, how many guys are we taking over him?
I still think he would be amazing.
As a pure was like, yeah, as a runner, like, and you can't like just eliminate that part of his game, which I understand that, but
he's just impossible to tackle.
As a pure wide receiver, I like a lot of the pass catching ability of these other guys, just pure hands, the ability to just track the ball and how they run routes.
Am I missing something? Does Deebo have a drop problem or something?
He doesn't. It's just because he runs out of the backfield, people act like he doesn't have hands.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about how he lines up in the backfield, and I'm not saying he doesn't have hands.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that's what everybody says. Like everybody, I feel like everybody's subconscious.
I'm just that way. I just said that because I'm bringing this up, so I figured you were going after me. But Puka might. I understand that Puka might be a stretch strictly because he's a rookie, but one guy I wanted to throw on here, but I know I just can't, is Pickens. Because he's just he's a freak, but I'm not going to. He's a freak athlete who
ridiculous.
I'm not
over Cortland Sutton. I can't.
I didn't throw him on here.
You had him in the maybes.
George Pickens?
Cortland Sutton.
Oh, I mean, he was like barely made the maybes. But I think there's easily 15 to 18 guys I'd take over Deebo. It doesn't have to be the same for you. I didn't come here to like convince you guys, but that's just my thought process. I value the idea of route running, hands, and just being able to track the ball and all that. Speed as well, because obviously Tyreek is up there, but he does way more than just that. But that's me. You guys can value different traits differently. I just wanted to say my piece.
And we can touch on this again on the next episode. We'll talk about the Niners, so I'm sure I know I'm gonna bring it up again next week. And we've been recording for just about 2.5 hours now, so maybe we'll cut it here. We'll resume this unless you got anything else to say, Mike. Anything to add?
George Pickens, just even saying that's wild.
I just
what are we doing here?
It's probably strictly off of the highlight plays. That's probably why I'm thinking of it. But no, it's definitely Deebo over Pickens.
For highlight plays.
Deebo's Mr. Highlight. He makes the craziest breaking tackles, and I don't know. I love Deebo Samuel. I think maybe there's an argument to be made he's not top 10. I think not top 20.
I think he's easily not 10, but it has nothing to do with his talent. It's the talent everywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
15 looking at the list I made, 15 maybe you can make an argument, at least to me. But now that I'm looking at it, okay, he's a top 20 receiver. You could probably slide him in anywhere between 14 and 16 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like. I see people online saying that too, like being like criticizing guys like Deebo for being in these talented offenses. Why does no one ever criticize Christian McCaffrey? He's in this offense. He benefits just as much as Deebo does.
Well, I mean, he did it outside of this offense, and he's just doing it again in this offense. He was doing it in fucking Carolina.
Deebo hasn't had the chance.
Carolina was terrible. It was literally just like it was one Popeye's biscuit away, Kelvin Benjamin from a tight end, and then Christian McCaffrey in that offense. And Christian McCaffrey was throwing out 1,000-yard receiving, 1,000-yard rushing, 20 touchdown season.
They gave him the ball on almost every single play.
Yeah,
because there was no one else. But I feel like it's definitely a lot easier to criticize running backs than receivers because running backs, you can be lifted by an O-line. Look at Miles Sanders. He's still a talented running back, but the O-line from Philly to Carolina, so different.
Well, yeah, of course.
And quarterback situation. But I mean, feel free to attack me in the comments if you guys if there are guys I didn't mention, probably not, that you might take over Deebo, or just knock me off my rocker and just say that, nah, he's top 5. Like, I don't know, but that's my take.
With the receivers you mentioned, I don't know how you didn't mention Mike Pittman.
Oh shit. Yeah,
He's
him
better than a
too.
lot of those
And I'm
guys.
taking
I'd
Deebo
take
over
Pitt.
Mike
I think
Pittman
Pittman's
any day of the week
borderline top 7 this year. He's been so
I'm,
consistent.
I'm taking Deebo
this
over
year, but
Pittman.
I'm
I'm
taking
sorry.
Deebo, yeah,
What?
over Pittman
I
easily.
love what Pittman's been doing this year with a backup QB, with a rookie QB, and then a backup
I
QB.
love
I feel like
Pittman
he's been
too.
great.
Always been great.
Even in
I'm
the
just
games
taking
where he
Deebo.
was quiet, like he had one game where he had like 2 or 3 catches, but he had that like big ass 60-yard touchdown too, which like tied the
Been
game
great.
or gave him the lead. It was like in week 2 or 3, but
Do
No, that was
we
good.
do we want to put a pin in this and just talk about the Sunday Night Football game now? It's over.
why the hell not?
I mean, we might as well do it here. I mean, we got this far already. Obviously this game just ended, so we have no notes on it, but whatever. I'll pull it up here. Sunday Night Football. Cowboys go and dominate the Philadelphia Eagles at home. The Cowboys now move themselves into tied for first in the NFC and the NFC East. I'm not sure. Let me look at standings real quick here. Who has the better divisional record? Uh, they will.
Probably
No, the
wouldn't shock
Cowboys
me
will
if
be
they're the
4-1,
same.
and the Eagles will be 3-1. So in about a minute when this game ends, the Dallas Cowboys will be your number one overall seed in the NFC, and the Eagles will be the 5 seed in the NFC. So that is crazy to
No,
see.
wouldn't it be the 49ers? Or do they have 4 losses?
Oh no, you're right. It would be the 49ers. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right. It would be.
Cowboys are
I
2
forgot.
right now.
I forgot they were there. Yeah, Cowboys will be 2, Eagles 5. But yeah, Cowboys just outplayed them completely. They took advantage of this shitty Eagles secondary, how they played this year. It's kind of crazy that they're just not that good anymore. Maybe can we give some credit where it's due to CJ Gardner fucking Johnson? Look at this shit, bro. They're dog shit now. They were great last year. What happened? Their
It's just
their D
crazy how
line,
one guy who they let walk that easily is that big of an impact.
and that
So
no one
yeah,
wanted to pay.
right. Got to get
No one wanted to give long
100%
term.
agree. Got to give him his flowers. And you got to think that the Lions probably have 1, maybe 2 more wins this year if he doesn't get hurt.
1,000%. This whole defense changes for the Lions if he doesn't get hurt. I would love to see him come back and make an impact in the last few games of the season here. And then hopefully the Lions will sign him to a long-term deal. I would love that. I just love him as a person. I feel like he's just a good dude. He talks a lot of shit. He backs it up.
I wouldn't say
Uh,
he's a good dude, but
he's an okay dude. He talks a lot of shit. He backs it up.
You stand
He's
on
one of
business.
those
You got to respect that.
he, he's one of those dudes like in the NBA, like a Chris Paul or a Pat Bev that's like low key kind of like not that good of a dude, but like when they're on your team, you love them to death. Um, so
Pat Bev.
yeah, you said what?
Pat Bev.
That's what I said, Pat Bev or Chris Paul.
Oh,
One of those kind of guys. Just conveniently they have a little history, but regardless, back to this game. Cowboys dominated. Looks like they're gonna win 33-13 unless the Eagles get a garbage time touchdown here, but great win for the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy out of the hospital, goes out there and Cowboys put on a clinic, and they look like maybe it looks like them and the Niners maybe are the most 2 dominant teams in the league right now.
I mean, this was the type of game where I expected CD Lamb to go on. CD Lamb, I don't know why I feel like I said that weirdly. He was going to have like 150 yards, 10 catches because of this weak Eagles secondary, but he didn't need to. He only had 6 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown as of now, but I doubt they're going to be throwing the ball anytime soon. Dak Prescott, he just took care of the ball. He was smart with it. That's what he's been all year. He's been, I don't even know what to call it. Like, what's the level above an elite game manager? Because he's making throws that game managers can't, but he's also doing exactly what a game manager should be doing. Either way, he's been phenomenal this year, and this game is no different. He's been avoiding uh, a lot of the Eagles. Eagles front four is very talented, and he did a really good job of avoiding it for the most part, other than that Jalen Carter fumble 6. But what's going on with the Eagles? It feels like they've been falling apart, like mentally. Sure, they're playing like San Fran and the Cowboys, who, like you said, Josh, 2 of the more talented teams in the entire league, but like it feels like Hurts just isn't able to move the ball as well as he used to be able to. Their run game isn't working as well. Like Swift, he's getting phased out of the game, even though he's a super talented back. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are getting their targets and touches, but if they're down like 40 points combined between 2 games, is there really a reason for them to get 15 total catches combined between the 2 of them? But Either way, I think this Eagles team, they're probably going to get it together by the playoffs. They don't have to play the Cowboys or the 49ers again. I think they have like one, maybe two tough games coming up on their schedule. I don't have it out in front of me. But yeah, if the Eagles can get hot before the playoffs, maybe they can make noise. But until then, I'm gonna have my concerns with them.
Yeah, I have my concerns with this Eagles team, definitely. Maybe David Carr was onto something talking about Marcus Mariota. Do you think he could have put up 13 more than 13 points? I don't know. But big win for the Cowboys. They are just a dominant home team. Um, Big win for Mike McCarthy. Crazy how earlier in the season there was people saying he should be fired after the season. Um, he's maybe he's not the best coach, but he's a good coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. This Dallas team is going to be 10-3. They're very good. Their defense is just they've been good all season. Stephon Gilmore is just continues to be an elite cornerback even with his age. He's just so good. He doesn't get all the praise. He doesn't get the interceptions, the pick sixes, but he just makes the plays, locks down his guy across from him, and goes on, does his business. CD went off early. I needed about 35 fantasy points to make the playoffs. Didn't get it. Hate to see it. Sucks. But Brandon Aubrey is my officially my stud of the week. Didn't miss a field goal. I think he had 2 60+ yarders. He's just rapidly. This is his rookie season already. Probably a top 3 kicker in the NFL right now. Big win for the Cowboys. This is what you want to see if you're a Cowboys fan. This is what you're expecting to see. You should have beat them in Philadelphia. Now you come back to Dallas and you get the job done. You did what you could have done there. Cowboys are a scary team right now. I don't care if they beat up on bad teams. That's what they're supposed to do. This time they beat up on a good team. So, job done.
Yeah, I scrolled up while you were talking there to my notes for this year, page 2 of 66 here. And under the
Insane.
Cowboys, it says McCarthy has to win a playoff game for his job. I think it's safe to say they're going to win a playoff game. If they get the 1 seed, they're going to get a bye into the second round. We'll see what happens there. If they get the 5 seed, they're going to beat the absolute hell out of whoever comes out of the NFC South. So I think it's safe to say his job will be okay, and I think the Cowboys will be okay as well. But
I think even if they don't win a playoff game, like if they somehow get the bye and then because it's 4 against 5, Philly finishes with 5, and then they beat the NFC South team, they'll play each other again in Dallas. If Philly wins, depending on how they win, I think McCarthy can still keep his job and just keep rolling with what they have this year. They're going to get Diggs back. I mean, get healthy.
And Dan Quinn doesn't want to be a head coach. I think at this point, I think he knows he's just
Yeah.
an elite defensive coordinator and should stay that.
yep, but that about does it for maybe our career long podcast and 32 episodes here. We'll see on the back end after editing. But as always, follow us on all of our social medias in the description. Our Spotify is on there as well as our TikTok, which we've been uploading a lot more consistently on. It has a lot of short form content on there. We'll be back on Wednesday to give you a preview of the upcoming week in the NFL, as well as talking some NBA talk with some in season tournament and some early season storylines. Until then, we'll see everybody in the next one.